Good morning. Welcome to Elizabeth Sharon Ann Bible Study this morning. This is June the 22nd, 2022. And I realized that yesterday was the official first day of summer. It's felt like summer for several days now. If you live here in Oklahoma, or really anywhere, because it's been hot everywhere. We've seen some 100-degree temperatures, so it was pretty rough to get out and go walking. So I got up early this morning to go out and get my walking done in the cool weather. And I got a message from Elizabeth, and she's not going to be able to join. We're not going to be able to be together this morning. She had to go see her mom. Her mom has been taken to the hospital. She's sick. Oh no, and I have lost a connection. So I'm going to stop this. Yes. Well, I don't know what that is. Due to poor, okay. Are you there? Okay, so are we back on live? Hopefully so. I don't know. Okay, Jan, you're on, so you can still see me. Like my whole screen stopped for a second. So Jan, you're watching. Okay, wonderful. Okay, back to Elizabeth. Her mom's in the hospital. She's taken by ambulance today. So we really need for you to keep them in your prayers. And just lift up Elizabeth. You know, when everything, it just seems like the walls come in on you, and I, we just need to lift them up, so that peace that surpasses understanding will just flow over everybody. Thank you, Donna, for letting me know you can see. Some people, maybe you can't get a signal for everybody, and I don't know what it is, but people are getting a signal. Some people are not getting a signal. So we're just going to push through this. And it's working on my end. So go ahead and list your prayer request in the chat box so we can pray for you. Donna will put that in the prayer book, and also share those praise reports, because that gives us encouragement when we see how God is working in your life, and how he makes a way when there's no humanly way possible for that way to be made. I mean, we're going to read about that today, and this is just so cool. Whenever, and I love to throw my devotion in on this, and so I had been studying anyway, so I was prepared. You know what? I had my alarm set early to go walk, but I woke up earlier, and that's when I saw Elizabeth's text. So it's supposed to be this way. She's got a day off to spend time with her mom, and I had time to walk and then come do this. So I've got to read part of this devotion today, because you're going to see what I'm saying whenever we get into the word. Mighty God, help me to trust you by relinquishing control into your hands, letting go, knowing that you are God. How easy is that for you to do? Whenever you think, man, will he ever answer this prayer? I've been praying this all day long, or all week, or for the last 10 years. And I'm going to, you kind of want to jump in to be that control person. However, this is your world, God. You made it and you control it. My part in the litany of love is to be responsive to you. You have planted in my soul the gift of receptivity to your presence. I want to guard this gift and nurture it with the light of your love. And then on down, I found that when I tell you about my concerns over and over again, hear that, I live in a state of tension. See those, and I thought, wow, your prayers can also be disguised as something that is bringing stress to you if you focus on that all the time. Flip that and thank him for how he's answering your prayers, because he's answering it in the way that it's going to be beneficial to you, as well as give him glory. It's not going to look like what you thought it was going to look like. Keep thankfulness in your heart as you're praying. Thankful prayers keep my focus on your presence and keep you more positive and peaceful. And so, excuse me, so that's a Psalms 46:10 kind of moment. It says, be still and know that I'm God. So now let's get into 2 Kings 3:1. This is so good, because remember, I just read in this devotion about God made the world. He knows how things go, and he can do whatever he wants to do. He doesn't do it on how Debbie thinks it should be, because see, I'm kind of limited on that today or yesterday or forever. I'm not God. So as we jump into 2 Kings 3:1 through 4:17, Ahab's son Joram, and then you'll see that little asterisk by them. It's also Jehoram. So we've got all of these names that sound alike, and it kind of gets confusing at times, and so it's just I have to go back into my Bible and write something down so I can remember who I'm talking about. So he reigned in Samaria for 12 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, but not to the same extent as his father and mother. At least he tore down the sacred pillar of Baal. See, man, he wasn't as bad. And you know what? We hear people talk about somebody being really good. Now, they're not a Christian, but they're really good. They do great things for the community. No, they don't serve God, but they really do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You just kind of pick and say, well, they're really not all that bad. So anyway, we'll go on. I'm getting distracted in looking at messages. Okay, so as we go on, it's talking about King Mesha of Moab was a sheep breeder, and he used to pay the king of Israel an annual tribute of 100,000 lambs and the wool of 100,000 rams. But after Ahab's death, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. Now, can you just imagine? This is a big tribute to pay. 100,000 lambs. Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine what the herd looked like, or what all it looked like in any of that. So King Joram promptly mustered the army of Israel, marched from Samaria. On the way, he sent a message to King Jehoshaphat of Judah, and the king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you join me in battle? And here's that Jehoshaphat. He's a good guy, but he's a pushover. Why, of course, you and I are as one. Haven't we heard that before? My troops are your troops, my horses your horses. What route should we take? And Jehoram replies, we'll attack from the wilderness of Edom. So they go. 3 armies travel a roundabout route. And oh man, there's no water. Wow, they're all powerful. They are taking this upon themselves. They are marching and they're going. But you know what? Some of those little things that's unexpected, like, oh, are we gonna have to drink water? Wow. We've got animals, we got lots of people here, and it's probably hot just like in Oklahoma right now. What should we do? The king of Israel cried out. The Lord has brought the 3 of us here to let the king of Moab defeat us. Now, really, is that how that worked? But King Jehoshaphat asked, is there no prophet of the Lord with us? If there is, we can ask him what to do. And they said, oh, Elisha. So Jehoshaphat said, yes, the Lord speaks through him. So the king of Israel, Jehoshaphat, and king of Edom went to consult Elisha. And this is where it's good. Why are you coming to me? Elisha asked him, go to the pagan prophets of your father and your mother. But Jehoram said, King Jehoram said, no, for it was God, it was the Lord who called us three here, only to be defeated by Moab. Elisha replied, as surely as the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, I wouldn't even bother with you except for my respect for King Jehoshaphat of Judah. Now bring me someone who can play a harp. Listen to that. So why is that? Because he's of Judah. He's still, he's a descendant of David. And so God's still looking out after the lineage of Jesus. And I had a reference to Psalms 1:1 and through 2. Listen to this. Happy are those who do not follow the advice of the wicked. Well, too bad that Jehoram hadn't read that in the past. Or take the path that sinners tread, or sit in the seat of scoffers. And then verse 2 of Psalms 1. But their delight is in the law of the Lord, and on this law they meditate day and night. Okay, so he said, get a harp. And so while it was playing, the power of the Lord came upon Elisha. See, that's why it's so awesome when you're in your playing worship music, praise music, whenever you're having a tough day. In fact, if Elizabeth, play some music while you're sitting there with your mama today, if you can. Just let that worship music just sink into your heart, your mind, and your soul, and just know that God is speaking to you through that, because it's a way, the way to be filled with the Spirit, I'm getting tongue-tied, is to edify yourself by psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. So sometimes when you don't know what to say or what to pray, if you can just put some music on that's worshiping God, that Christian music, it'll just kind of give you that peace. But anyway, this is what the Lord says. Now I have to jump into a different Bible because I like what it says in the NIV. First, this dry valley will be filled with pools of water. Now that's odd. It will be filled with so what it says in NIV, this is what the Lord says: make this valley full of ditches. For this is what the Lord says: you will see neither rain nor wind, yet this valley will be filled with water, and you, your cattle, your other animals will drink. God makes a way where there is no way. Do you notice? They're going to have to go dig ditches. They're going to have to go dig ditches. How many are we supposed to dig? Well, I don't know. Nobody said. It doesn't say to go dig 50 or 500 or 10,000. It says make this valley full of ditches. So I'm assuming if this is a big valley, there's enough men there, they can go dig a bunch of ditches. But it makes no sense because he's saying there's not going to be rain. Well, why would we have to dig ditches if there's not going to be any rain? Why? You can just start trying to be thinking about this isn't practical. This makes no sense. There's not any way that this is nonsense. We're going to be tired after we dig all those ditches. But God said to do it. It will be filled. You'll have plenty. So in verse 18, this is this is only a simple thing for the Lord, but he will make you victorious over the army of Moab. You will conquer it. You will conquer the best towns, even the fortified ones. You will do all of this. And then verse 20 says, the next day, about the time when morning sacrifice was offered, water suddenly appeared. It was flowing from the direction of Edom, and soon there was water everywhere. Did you notice there was no rain? There was no wind. God is the creator of everything. Just back to my devotion. This is your world. You made it. You control it. All we're supposed to do is be responsive to him. Be responsive to him. See, this makes no sense to us. But in the spiritual world, he is. He's got this. So then the next big deal, when the people of Moab heard about the three armies marching against them, they thought, oh, good, we can go get stuff. This is like a major garage sale out in the valley. But when they got up the next morning, the sun was shining across the water, making it appear red to the Moabites, like blood. It's blood. Three armies must have attacked and killed each other. Let's go. Let's collect the plunder. So not only did water just flow, it looked like red. It appeared. And, so a lot of times Elizabeth says, things are not as they seem. Just because you see it with the natural eyes doesn't mean that's what it's all about. So going on down, in verse 26, I'm going to have to scoot. So when the king of Moab saw that he was losing the battle, he led 700 of his swordsmen in desperate attempt to break through the enemy lines, and they failed. Then the king of Moab took his oldest son, who would have been the next king, sacrificed him as a burnt offering on the wall. So there was great anger against Israel, and the Israelites withdrew and returned to their land. In chapter 4, it's talking about the widow of a member of the group of prophets who came to Elijah and cried, Elisha. Okay, so here's another little tidbit for you. If you are thinking, I can't remember whether it's Elisha or Elijah, I get confused all the time. So remember this, if you think alphabets, Elijah with a J would come before Elisha with an S in the alphabet order. So Elijah with a J is first, and then he's gone. Elisha is here. I don't know if that helps anybody, but it helped me when I heard somebody talk about that. So the lady came to him and told him that my husband is dead. And the creditors came to threatening to take my sons. And he said, what can I do to help you? I'm sure that he's wanting her to talk about some of this. What does she think? What is it that you want? What do you I don't even know how I just need to move on. Tell me what you have. She doesn't have anything but a flask of oil. And he said, borrow as many jars as you can have from your friends, and then get your sons to go pour oil. So this is the deal about them pouring the olive oil into from that flask into the jars. From the one flask that she has into as many jars as they have. See how that sounds familiar, like digging as many ditches as you can dig for the water to hold the water. Well, fill as many jars as you can. See, Elijah made this woman commit herself in faith to God's provision. She did what she was told to do. She did it in faith. The result answered the end. God takes care to deliver his servants in ways that exercise their faith. See, whichever way it was, these people that were going to war that didn't have any water, I mean, they related to that. They needed water. Dig ditches, dig ditches. It'll be full. This lady, out of just down to the last thing of oil. You have God in the measure in which you desire him. The principle of this miracle was the same as the ditches. The amount of man's work with the miracle determined the amount of blessing and provision actually received. God's powerful provision invites our hard work and never excuses laziness. See, there's something for us to do too. And then it goes on to talk about Elisha and the going to the town of Shunem. And you know what, because we're getting close to time, you can read about that next miracle, because here's somebody else that has a baby that there's a way was made when there shouldn't have been possible. Okay, so let's jump into Acts 14, 8 through 28. This is dynamite too. Paul and Barnabas. You notice now that Paul this is all still new to him, but he was a really smart man, and he was bold and brave because he showed his fierceness in the past whenever he was crucifying and killing Christians, but now he's showing his boldness in preaching God's word. Paul, it lists him first now because it would appear that he is the one that is taking charge on this mission trip. They come across this man that's crippled from birth. He didn't just break his leg last week. He's never walked. He's sitting there listening as Paul preached, looking straight at him. And I underlined this because this is a big deal. Looking straight at him, Paul realized he had faith to be healed. Wow, that man's face, what did that look like? This man was totally engaged in listening to what Paul had to say. He believed every word that was coming out of Paul's mouth. So Paul called to him in a loud voice, "Stand up." And the man jumped to his feet and started walking. Now, what I like is and I don't have it right here handy. I think I wrote it down. In another version, it said the man leaped. Oh yeah, in the New King James, I like that better because he leaped up, and he started walking. So Paul and Barnabas, they were there on a mission. They weren't coming in as miracle workers. That wasn't their focus. They just happened to see this man. They are there to preach the gospel. And as you're seeing, as you're on going about your way, and you see somebody, don't you probably feel like that, maybe God's telling you to go speak to him, but you know what, if there's something else that they need, it's not just talking to them. People do need physical needs met too. And sometimes that's a way to get through to them to meet the spiritual needs. Paul reached out with the power of God. See, we've got that too. And that man went from no hope to hearing, to seeing, to leaping. I mean, I think of like a deer leaping in the forest and walking. Can you believe that you can have a transition like that? This is like an over the top miracle. But then as we go on down, the crowd has seen this, and they're talking in their local dialect. See, they were speaking in a different language that possibly Paul and Barnabas may not have been able to catch all of the words that they were saying, but they thought they were gods. And so now then they're wanting to worship them. And then when they realized that that's what was happening, verse 15, they say, friends, why are you doing this? We are merely human beings, just like you. See, don't worship people. Even today, if somebody is done something for you, and it's just, I mean, you can be grateful, but don't put them on such a high pedestal that you think that this is just wonderful, because still people are people, and people will disappoint you. Paul and Barnabas are just wanting to preach the word. And it also tells that they tore their clothes in dismay whenever they were talking to him. And see, that shows that they were completely human. And that's a Jewish reaction to blasphemy. Paul tells them, we bring the good news that you should turn from these worthless things and turn to the living God who made heaven and earth and the sea and everything in them. So that's pretty bold, because they could kill you for saying that. And then on down, verse 19, then the Jews arrived from Antioch and Iconium and won the crowds to this side. See, here we go. We've got that mob mentality that, somebody can start stirring somebody up. And we have people that like the battle of the words, the debate. Well, it doesn't take much to do that. And so look what happens. As a result of having all of this crowd that is all riled up, they stone Paul and drag him out of town thinking he was dead. So whenever I looked that up, and I thought, wow, I see that some of those persecuting Jews traveled over 100 miles to make Paul miserable. They were thrown by some of the same people that were wanting to worship them as gods that we just read. But look at this. But as the believers gathered around him, he got up and went back into the town. And that's something. They just prayed over a man, basically, telling him in faith, stand up, and the man leapt and walked. Here it is. Paul was beat down, left for dead, and he gets up and walks back into town. That, I mean, could you do this? Could you actually do this? And look at Proverbs 17:22 today. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. You think whenever Paul got beat down, left for dead, he's just trying to tell them about Jesus, tell them about that somebody that they need to know, quit worshiping those idols, quit doing that, quit, even back to the kings, like he sacrificed his son. All of these people were just, humanity is a crazy thing. All we have to do is read this. But sin came into the world with Adam and Eve. That's not what God wanted, but that's what happened. And look how all we have to do is stay away from this stuff and read the word. Psalms 140, 1 through 13 is written by David, but it could have been written by, maybe Paul could have read some of that. In verse 1, it said, Lord, rescue me from evil people, protect me from those who are violent, those who plot evil in their hearts and stir up trouble all day long. See, that's the mob mentality. If you notice on down after 3, it's now in the New Living Bible, it says interlude, but if you look into the other versions, it'll say Selah. So after David wrote, and I might say 3 verses. I mean, he didn't have them numbered whenever he wrote them, obviously. But after he would write that, it was like a Selah moment. Just stop, pause, and think. So he wrote that, and then he thought about it. And then he went on down to write the next 2. Keep me out of the hands of the wicked. Protect me from those who are violent. And on down, the proud have set a trap to catch me. At the end of that, you see another interlude, another Selah moment. And then he paused. And you know what I'm thinking? That's why we should pray. Whenever we're praying, instead of just rattling out that big old laundry list that you need God to do for you today, or perhaps you're giving him your list of things that you're thankful for. Pause and have a Selah moment. And let him speak to you in your prayer. You don't have to be the one talking all the time. Let God do that. What I want to also mention is throughout Psalms 140, 3 different times, and I listened to this morning, a pastor was saying how this points to Jesus. In verse 4, where it says, oh Lord, keep me out of the hands of the wicked, protect me from those who are violent. Jesus triumphs over wicked men. And then verse 7, O sovereign Lord, the strong one who rescued me. See, God protected Jesus. You protected me on the day of battle. Go look at Ephesians 6 for the armor of God, because that's for us too. You can put the whole armor of God on, and he will, you'll be strengthened. And then on over to verse 12. This is how we should also pray. But I know. Do you know the promises in here to where whenever you're praying, that you could say, I know the Lord will fill in the blank. In this case, I know the Lord will help those they persecute. He will give justice to the poor. I know, Lord, that you are for me, that you will make a way for me where there's no way. I know that I can take my oil flask spiritually, that like the lady we just read about, and we can fill up the other jars. I know, because I've read your word. Surely righteous people are praising your name. The godly will live in your presence. See, that's the third thing. Jesus was the upright one. See, this whole psalm started in sorrow, beginning in sorrow. And in 13, it ends with high confidence. But I know the Lord will be with me. I know. So today, pray that your heart is cheerful. Think of Paul. He was stoned. They thought he died. He jumped up and he went back into town. He didn't hold a grudge. He didn't say, well, I'm not going back there again. He said, there's a lady that's going to be preaching about this one of these days, and her name's Debbie, and she's sure not like me. She probably run the other way. I'm trying to be more like Paul, because, he just let all that stuff roll off the back of his back, and he went right back because there was still work to do. Pray that you encourage others in their spiritual journeys. and pray for people to have cheerful hearts. See, that will take care of a whole mess of stuff. Because if I wake up and I have bad feelings or grumpy, that sets the temperature for the whole day. If I wake up cheerful because I choose to, my day is a whole lot different. I can cheerfully get up, I can cheerfully go walk, and I can purposely make sure that I have my default face, my resting face is generally, like this. But if I focus on him and I focus on cheerfulness, it changes how I feel internally. So focus on your cheerfulness internally, focus on your cheerful face, smile, and go out and greet people, because somebody needs to know that, he makes those ways, those ditches, just dig them, pour that oil. It's awesome. God is with you. He is for you. And pray for everybody that you've probably seen on the messages, because I can't see them. And lift up Elizabeth's family again. And we will see you tomorrow. Love you bunches. Take care. Bye-bye.